Welcome everybody to three poets reading their poetry. Brought to you by the Poetry Circle and April is Poetry Month in Limerick. This is the 10th live event of this year's festival, and we're delighted to bring you three poets with three distinct poetic voices. Join us in welcoming Noel King, Seifer and Ross McDonnell. First up tonight is Noel King. Noel King was born and lives in Tralee, County Kerry. In 2015, he reached his 1,000th publication of a poem, haiku or short story in magazines and journals in 38 countries. Along the way, he has been a singer with the famous Bunratty Castle Entertainers and has worked as an arts administrator and poetry editor. His poetry collections are published by Salmon, Prophesizing the Past 2010, The Stern Wave 2013 and Sons 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, Noel King.
And Tom mentioned the three collections, but there are two more since. So this one came out in 2022, and it didn't have any launch, and other than open mics, I haven't read it from it anywhere. And it's by a UK publisher called Kite Modern Poetry Series, and it's called Alternative Beginnings, Early Poems. And it's a book of strays, really. It's poems that didn't get into the three Salmon collections for whatever reason. They didn't fit the themes, or they just didn't fit in. So they had very good publication credits, but they were never collected, so I decided to collect them. And I'll read three or four from that, and then I'll go on to the other book. So this one happens to be the first poem I ever wrote. I think it was about 1994, so I was 28 at the time. So, and it's called Comrades. And it's set in a shoe shop with a customer and the assistants. Comrades. Sorry sir, the comrade is missing, the girl in the shoe shop says, as she holds the solitary black leather size 9 I've chosen. I stare at it, then at her. Mine is too. It's not my lucky year. Tears seep my face. Yes, sir. If it turns up, shall I keep it for you? If she turns up somewhere, who'll keep her for me? I laugh. Another girl comes. They whisper. Second girl asks, can we offer you a different pair, sir? Oh no, it's only the one woman I want. The first girl says, I'm sorry, sir. Her voice hostile now, but laughing. So do you want a pair of shoes or not? I laugh again. More tears. I can't hold them. Must I cry in front of people? I see a handbag like the one I bought her last birthday. I touch it, think of her things inside. Shoes next to it match it. A man comes out from the back, hands on his hips. The girls chatter to him in fast, slow voices. She'd wanted the shoes to match. Have you got these in a 6, I ask? Yes. She hesitates. The man jerks a fetch. Can I get a refund if I don't find her? If they're not satisfactory. Certainly, sir. I'll give you a receipt. Thank you very much. And going back to the very end of the book, this one's called Sewing. I have a need to cover a great oak tree with one big white sheet. Dream of threading together a houseful pulled from under a family who stare at me, consider me mad, brutal even. At 8, I fell from its branches. Don't know what happened then, just remember being bedridden. At 10, I crouched in lightning, not knowing a tree is the last place to shelter. An oak swish in winter soothed me at earlier times of life. Now its tones tease me, coming as it has before baby, child, teenager, husband, widower. Naked in a nightmare, I am barely balanced on my garden wall, wave my arms to keep balance, and the sheet in my hands from flapping. Despair on how to get my sheet over the tree. I'm no longer object to house plans for its field, won't mind the sound of a chainsaw, will a dream to sit on its wide stump as branches lie dying in the grass, and I won't count the circles knowing it has lived long enough. And this is my Caravaggio poem, and as you know, The Taking of Christ by Caravaggio, lost for centuries, was discovered in Jesuit House, Leeson Street, Dublin in the 1990s, and it now sits in the National Gallery of Ireland. Now it was extraordinary that 500 years ago, whenever it was, that Caravaggio managed to get Louis Mackay down there to pose for the part of Judas in the picture Taking of Christ. You can Google it later and you'll have to read it.
Time travel, of course.
Time travel, perhaps. AI. Caravaggio. Hidden for years, depriving us of your pleasures, seen, yes, loved, yes, but only by old, tired, male eyes. Christ, you look mesmerizing, surrounded, betrayed, but beautiful. I think we can relate to you. Politics, sex, film stars have moved over a bit on the page, so you can shine in all your reflected glory. We can buy your print too, and bring you home to grace our walls, the in-thing in expensive frames, as if your majesty needed decoration. Thanks very much. And on 36, Derrick Beach. I'm sure Neil and Marion remember Derrick Beach because she lived out there for a number of years. Yeah, Derrick Beach. I'm capturing December light amongst warm hearts of women in brash woolens that seep the winds, that dim the beach sounds. I'm told of my luck living here, made see new beauty in sands, rocks, mountain. They are chattering mutely, or is it the wind snapping women words? I look at the cliff and another picture, me at 3, here under grandmother's shaded eyes. I peeped under a peaked cap, arms wrapped round her dog Snap. That's it. So that's the few from that book. And then we go on to this book, which is just out. It's actually not launched yet. It's launched at the Store Writers Week on the 31st of May. So tonight's the first time anybody has seen it. And it's by Survision Books. And it's an AI. I went through about 4 artists. One was a painting in Marion Cody's house. You all know Marion Cody, and I thought Marion Cody's painting was perfect, and she'd asked the artist. No, he didn't like it, he didn't like it, he didn't like it. So then he threw in piano and music and whatever, and this came up. So the actual credit for the thing, the cover image from OpenArt AI prompt, a surreal painting of a piano that is literally self-consuming. And that's what AI brought up. And the book, sorry, I meant to say, this book was dedicated to my late mother, and this book is dedicated to my late father, who both passed away in 2022. So the first one is, I wrote it in the Stole in 1996, and I was, if you know what a Walkman was, everybody old enough to know, young enough to know what a Walkman was. I had to explain the other day to somebody what a Walkman was. I said it was how you listen to music on a cassette. So I was crossing the river and I was listening to the Evita soundtrack, and there was a big sweeping movement. And anyway, suitable music for a view. Crossing the river in the Stole, my Walkman sweeps Evita's funeral. Songs to match a view I don't tire of. An odd little house by a river, Hollywood set of Ireland, a scratch on the map. By the way, Survision Press is what they call a surrealist press, and I didn't know whether my poems were surreal or not. So I had been in their magazine once or twice, and I said, you know what, I'll chance it. I'll start with the, they would have gotten into the magazine if he hadn't liked them or considered them surreal, and then I'd walk up from there. So I sent the manuscript, and lo and behold, he took it. So this is kind of a naughty one, the next one. I'm sure you love naughty ones. The Lord save us from all harm. The 11 priests came out the morning after their reunion, leaving thin collars in their rooms. They stripped their black shirts off. Those that wore vests tore them from themselves. Belts undone, they dropped their trousers, slipped out of underpants, and penises wobbling in the breeze plunged into the sea. The waves cold made their willies small, snoop closer to their bodies. 7 were drowned, 4 rescued, 2 willingly, by the SOS that sent a boat out.
My God. Holy God.
And this is called
more of that, so please.
This is called and there's an exhibition going on in St. John's in Listowel where an artist takes a poem and paints a ekphrastic. I think we call it ekphrastic when it's the other way around, but is it when they draw the picture based on the poem? I don't know if that's called ekphrastic as well, I'm not sure. But anyway. So the poem will be put in a frame with the picture beside it. I just saw the picture today actually, and it's really, really nice. So the cleverness of birds. Blue tits were discovered pecking the foil of milk bottles so they could drink the cream. My grandmother swore to it, but these days we have polythene containers. The stereotypical owl is meant to be a wise and clever animal, but the one I got, the one I invested in as a pet, is a useless old codger, no more a companion than a dead lion skin on the floor in front of the fireplace. The bird down the street talks to me, says she hopes to go back to college next year, asks me for a light and what my name is. I don't tell her and look away from her druggy eyes. Tomorrow she can talk to someone else here in the smoking area. And this one is for Karen O'Connor. Some of you will know Karen O'Connor. And it has to be delivered. It's another kind of a rude one, but it has to be delivered in a Cork accent. So I don't know what you think of my Cork accent. And there's a few glossaries. Clon means clonakilty. Crosser is crosshaven. And needing a whiz is dying for a pea. Okay. And a nari is a north sider. Okay. And you know what a jax is, I'm sure you do. Okay. So it has 2 titles because I couldn't make up my mind. Seeing Nothing or Where the Fuck is Mill Street? When it's published in the shop, remember the magazine The Shop? The magazine The Shop publishes anyway with the 2 titles, Seeing Nothing or Where the Fuck is Mill Street, for Karen O'Connor. Reading your poetry collection on the 3 Cork train, and after Rathmore and before Ballantyre, I searched rabbit-headed like through both windows. Throw reading glasses on the table, want to see all these rings and rats and fairy forts and black dogs in your poems? Your home place of green and purple mountains, foxgloves and Mount Brescia, gun barrels blazing with fear in the setting sun, sheep and cattle cutouts on steep gradient, dotted sun-piercing trees in the black water, and deadly, deadly sunshine all the time. Childhood, your childhood like, as painted in your poems, but from the train I could see nothing. Bitter, disappointed like, and the poem seemed so real. I wonder should this poet get a trip in the white van like. There was nothing there. I'd go for Clon or Crosser or the Glen any day, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm hanging in need a whiz, but there's a fucking Nolly in the jacks and she's completely missed Mill Street like. And there's 2 more. This is set in the London Underground, and it's called It Is Beautiful. It is, really. And it's the second last poem. It's very short. I wish I could tell the girl opposite me on the Piccadilly line to Heathrow that the stunning yellow butterfly would not sting her, shit on her, or harm her in any way. That she shouldn't swat it away like it was a wasp or a bee. That she should enjoy its presence so far underground. Unlikely it will ever live in daylight again. I hold up my hand, palm open calmly in midair, in case it would like to land. The stares I get, honest to God, the stares, like I am some kind of psycho. Welcome, Francis. You just heard the second last and the last poem, your grant. And the last one is only 4 lines, and it's called Firelighting in a New Home. Firelighting in a new home. Who sat at this fireplace before me? What sucks me to its ashes? It must not stay cold, if only for the sake of the next occupant. Thank you very much. This book launches on the 4th of May. It's by Noel King, sitting down there. It's called Elizabeth New and Selected Poems, and it's at the D-Shirt in Green Street. The D-Shirt in Green Street in Dingle at Fair in the Downton at 4 p.m. on the 4th of May. In the Harry Clark Windows room, you know, the ones where you use stuff to open. So thank you all very much.
Anyway, thank you, Dr. King. Seifer lives in Limerick. Founded and runs the online poetry series Lime Square Poets. She also co-hosts and runs the first Wednesday series in collaboration with the Limerick Writers' Centre. Her work has been published in Abridged, the Bannon Review, Ink, Sweat and Tears, The Wax Lemon, Shearer's Man and the Deadless Presses Romance Options Anthology, among others. She has performed guest readings for Over the Edge, Not the Time to Be Silent, Cultivating Voices, and the Eat the Storms podcast. In 2022, she performed at the New Writers Showcase as part of Court International Literary Festival and received an Arts Council Agility Award. She has recently joined the editing team for Skylight 47 magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, Seifer.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Dominic. And thank you all for coming. The first poem I'm going to read is a poem I wrote after my goddaughter's christening. And she was convinced that I was her fairy godmother. So that's going to come up in the poem. And the title is What Remains Upon Becoming a Godmother. Judging by the past, the trivialities, official letters sealed while in the loo, the afterbirth of bureaucracy. Olive and date pits, here lie the remnants of a swank soiree, a crater where the sea ran dry and carcasses sank into stone. Bleached bones under glass guarded by Orthodox priests, hands pushing living bodies into tombs by the bungload. No stragglers, no lighting candles, the line hours long. Baptismal records set upon a shelf. Centuries from now, a Jewish name set down as godmother. I much prefer my niece's version to the priest's. I left my wings at home to protect my anonymity. Not giving me away by word, look, or gesture, and fingering her moors, torn satin from her mom's pajamas, like a rosary between her fingers. She still makes that motion when concentrating. In the church, I muttered my imitation of the silver screen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy testicles, spectacles, wallet, and watch. Under scrutiny of parish council women.
The essentials of life, in other words.
Fissures, cleaves, and crevices, dusted delusions, ancient ritual taking on new life. My western wall wish bore fruit when I was 10, now buried in Mount Olives, where all those slips of paper go. I tap my ring for luck, knock on tree bark. We toss nuts to the river, place fruit at feet of ancient trees on fire festivals. Pretend we are not still playing make-believe. This next poem is in 4 parts, and the title is After. 1. I want a beach, but not a golden private shore. A blustery day, salt-kissing swelling lips. My grandmother in the purple knit coat, pocket at her hips to warm my hands, hair combs flying out, tosses rocks into an ocean we knew separately. She goes back to her easel. I read from my notebook. 2. Shira's dark curls make the wind dance. The laughter rolls out and we share her sandwich. Talk about how easy it is to slip back into friendship, like a favorite dress when the season is finally right. We walk hand in hand, not second guessing. I say I love you. That's the first thing I say. 3. We sit and pour hot tea into glass cups, dip drunken cherries in, spit out the pits. Honey drips on her silkworm fingers, where cherry trees drink salt water, and we can gather all the pieces of ourselves, see clearly, bless the horizon. 4. A hush that doesn't feel like silence. Skin sprouts to feathers, dyed into a sunset soft as wrinkles, wrapping up lost time. We can see down to bone, past the pump of blood. I am wrapped in mandarin orange, teal, purple, lifted. It is not the end of words. That would be terror. It is where words create again, fuse sound to matter, pull light out of black holes like wool out of a rucksack, hang it to drip dry. Gather treasures like one's laugh, the other's gift for finding beauty. Our weekly pot of chicken soup, offals saved and served by painters' fingers on the day of rest. Dessert is apple carvings, leaving little sculptures at the core. No need to bite the apple. Thanks. The next poem shares a title with a poem by a Yiddish language poet called Itzik Mangir, who happened to be my grandmother's favorite poet. So, Tree on the Roadside. I bear the weight of unrequited gluttony, dried up and smoked away, swirling through distance and silence. And I am back, a tree standing on the roadside. What's the weight of turning yourself into your parents' fear, into the ashes of ancestors? The prophecy of dried bones reversed, half living on biscuits and concerts. What's the weight of continuity? Can we reach for an eternity with no burdens of blood? Candles cannot burn the weight we wish to shirk. I have the power to withhold eternity the way you withheld approval. But I want to bear the knowledge of the grain, even if it's splintered. Sound the sap, fill the gaps, find traction against strings. The question is, when the bird sings, can a tree grow its rings so roots do not push it up, nor pull it down? The next poem also has a dual title, which is Kol Nidre / vowel sounds, and just a few points on Kol Nidre. It literally means all vows. It's a prayer that's recited on the Day of Atonement, and its purpose is to untangle false vows or conversions. Also, kol is a homophone of the Hebrew word for sound or voice. And there's a myth that says that on the Day of Atonement, the high priest of the temple would go into the holiest of holies, the temple's inner sanctum, and inside the space hung a rope. While praying for the congregation, if the rope turned crimson, the high priest would die in the holiest of holies. But if it turned white, he would live and emerge from the sanctum, and the prayers would be answered. So, here's vowel sounds / Kol Nidre. When I was 4, my grandmother took me to shul on the Day of Atonement, and in the quietest moment, after the call and response, when only the cantor recites, I loudly inquired, Safta, do you believe in God? She whispered, shh, later. My name was still written in the book of life that year. I was a witness to belief held in silence, truth parting. Do you believe in transmutation? I do. I have felt the transformations. Lead rubs paper, the blunted pencil's pressure, every letter a consecration, a squid spear flowing through pen, an oath prescribed on pages of blue lines. Fingers tap symbols, firing neurons transferred into light on a screen. What is transformed? What burns, passes through membranes, down axon terminals? What transpires in the Holy of Holies, where only the high priest can enter? Where consecrations turn to silent sound, voices turn your voice into my own, credo beyond emotion, past music. When poets use timeless tools, when my lips don't move but I feel something moving, when words turn into heartbeats, echo through chambers, when the spaces between words are systoles, I believe in text, timeless like prayer, that I might blow and shape these words, no longer mine, beyond form and lines, material and symbols, beyond metaphor. Sometimes when I read your words, I know beyond faith, I have read a vow that cannot be unspoken. Our words, their space and taste, their sounds and shapes are shared. Words turned white, alive, eternal. The next poem is a short poem, and it's entitled Smoke. Smoke. The stench never left our home. Memory, shadows, reverberated in young lungs. Free, you smoke with quivering fingers, repeat the past. Your lips, a pale, blind survivor's wound, sucking time, constricted to a puckered point of ellipsis. I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. My next poem is entitled, My Goldfish Kept Jumping Out of the Tank. My goldfish kept jumping out of the tank or eating each other. They were hungry for more than flaky remnants that sank down towards the neon-colored pebbles, hid from orange-sucking mouths between the shadowed rainbow. Even shells could not protect my Penelopes, numbers 1, 2, or 3, my apple snails consumed by telescopic fish, their hollow-shelled sarcophagi, a warning. Perhaps the goldfish were betrayed by a genetic urge to leap beyond the glass, to dream of more than circling the stream of their own bubbles. Perhaps they tired of the imperative to push, were sick of watching eyes, of pounding hands upon their home. Perhaps even in the water it was just too loud, their mouths opened soundless for too long. One day, we found one floating sideways, the only case of resurrection by a cistern's flush. I hope his tail fin is at rest. I hope that he now sings, open guild, sated. Two last poems. The poem I'm going to read now was written in response to a prompt from Kevin Higgins. And the prompt was to write an anti-song. But I only sort of did that. And just one point, as you know, the songs are attributed to the biblical figure of King David. But here the poem is addressed to David instead, and it's a 6-part poem. Song for David. Aleph. Come, we are poets. You handed down that marrow with the pain. These bones are not dry. They're filled with another kind of faith. Bet. You wrote songs for protection, extorted song, a tithe in verse. Your son wrote a private devotion he couldn't inhabit. He could not play at equal-tempered love, could not look for his love's abode at midnight, a solitary figure limned in fire, his words seeping in like drops of rain, like starlight through the weave, answered in silence and heartbeats, breath seeking breath through fabric. Instead, it was dispersed by other lips. Gimel. That is the balm, the oil upon your prickly crown. Let us put down the stones, sling the words that lurk within our bones, the secret chord. That is the inheritance to be listened for and found among the echoes. Daled. Let the snake rise up. Let us glory in our skins, every scale of which is perfect and is bound to fall. Let mothers birth in joy, knowing their children will take up the pen. The harp's good too. Let us stop yearning to return to gardens where knowledge grows on trees. We live in the desert. Truth is in the echoes of the rocks, in the susurrations of the sea, in the whisper of breath through bones, in the bubble and pump deep down where it all began. Hey. Let us sit around the fire, mourn the time that we have lost. Let us claim our true bequest. We can decode our dreams. They are not of cows nor kingdoms. But they are in the whispers and the creaks, in the play of creation, in words strung together to gleam in the sun of our songs. This is the last poem. It's entitled A Daft Fantasy, and the daft of the title refers to the property listing website. We're house hunting at the moment. And fantasy is the way it sounds, but also a piece of music that's based on improvisational material. And I wrote this after experiencing some house hunting disappointment and imagining a different ending. A daft fantasy. We let go of the aviary among the rooftops on the island, where lichened tiles played mahjong, the neighbor's bike lying in wait to smooth their furrowed edges. I released the little scuffed-up desk facing out onto the campanile in the canal. I wasn't meant to be a garret poet. You, wound within your mother's chair, striped bathrobe cuddling your shoulders. My back, crooked within the sofa's arm, sconce light bright behind me, easing the bleariness of lines. Here, where words have space to sharpen into focus, and the missing Aga's hollow faces our bed. The crack we feared, winking at the wood burner, and the softened brick-white walls still whisper to the paint, finally gone from our amateur fingers, now back to fleshy color. Light enters this house on tiptoe. It doesn't yell its presence out like in my parents' house. The tub here might yet gurgle at my neck. The drawers, lopsided lavender grins, never grow serious, never hide their contents, cutlery in the open. Time is quiet like an Irish novel, and the cuds of mud outside whisper, settle in. Behind the church I call the selfish Jesus. In the deserted garden, the Holy Family have a meeting. tucked away, the godless and the clergy on retreat, redeem our time in reading, writing, behind the golden S-topped ancient wooden door, across the Bishop's Lady's Bridge, her DNA still scratching at its stones, in treaty with the past. Ross, I can't wait to hear you.
The effervescent Dar Seifer. Thank you, Dar. Now, our final reader tonight is someone new to the poetry scene here, Ross McDonnell, and it brings a fresh perspective to the poetry scene in Limerick. Ross is from County Clare, but his origins are in Wisconsin. He started writing poems during COVID. They are all rhyming poems that work best in a spoken word setting rather than on the stage. Ross tries to write about everyday subjects or situations that people can relate to in an entertaining way and hold their attention through fairly structured rhyming verse. Ross McDonnell.
Hi everybody. The first of the 6 poems I'll inflict upon you this evening is a heartfelt plea to the medical community, titled Cure for the Common Cold. I'm coughing and sneezing, my nose is dripping, I'm popping paracetamol and lemsip sipping. Keep warm and hydrated is all we're told, 'cause there isn't a cure for the common cold. My doctor says it's going around. You'd think by now a cure would be found. They landed on the moon when I was 2 years old, but they can't find a cure for the common cold. Health food shops making loads of money, selling multivitamins, garlic and honey. You can drink all the green tea you can hold, but you can't find a cure for the common cold. Everything else gets a vaccine, the measles, the mumps, even COVID-19. It's time that these boffins were kicked and cajoled into finding a cure for the common cold. Big pharmaceuticals, don't waste your time. Johnson & Johnson and GlaxoSmithKline. Their share price increases with every cough bottle sold. They don't want a cure for the common cold. I said to the chemist, I can't take it much longer. Have you got any morphine or something stronger? She said, those drugs are strictly controlled and there isn't a cure for the common cold. There must be a genius in modern medicine, an Albert Einstein or Thomas Edison, who'll shout, Eureka! And lo and behold, discovers a cure for the common cold. So, all you scientists in the world today, from UL to UCLA, drop everything you're doing, put everything on hold, just find a fucking cure for the common fucking cold! Psychologists tell us that we spend most of our waking hours distracting ourselves from thinking about the inevitability of death. But studies also show that people who regularly contemplate death are much happier. So here's a cheerful little poem to improve your happiness called Someday Soon You'll Cease to Exist. We're all going to die. We're all going to croak. A heart attack, baby, or maybe a stroke. Death is the one thing you can't resist. Someday soon you'll cease to exist. We know not the day, we know not the hour. A trip on the stairs, a slip in the shower, an undiagnosed malignant cyst. Someday soon you'll cease to exist. You can go on a diet, keep yourself trim. and be killed by a bus on the way to the gym. Life often ends with a comical twist. Someday soon you'll cease to exist. An earthquake, a hurricane, a shark attack, a hijacked plane, a parachute that's packed by a person who's pissed. Someday soon you'll cease to exist. Yes, someday soon your heart will stop, and they'll take your clothes to the charity shop.
Oh, yes.
You'll be quickly forgotten, you won't be missed. Someday soon you'll cease to exist. There's breaking news on CNN. They say we're all going to die. It's just a question of when. I think by now you get the gist. Someday soon you'll cease to exist. It's that time of year when many of you are planning a weekend away, maybe somewhere exotic like Limerick or Rome. Well, this one probably isn't for you. It's called City Break. They're advertising everywhere. Special offer, low-cost fare. Fly Aer Lingus, fly Ryanair. Have yourself a city break. Easy peasy, book online, Luxembourg or Liechtenstein. Flight departs at 9:30. I'm going on a city break. At the duty free, I got a third off. Landed at an airport I never heard of, to a language I didn't understand a word of. Big mistake, this city break. The hotel smelled of formaldehyde. It was a popular place to commit suicide. A fact overlooked in the Lonely Planet guide that I bought just for my city break. I got ripped off, same as you did. You get what you pay for, I've concluded. Can you tell me, is breakfast included? What a shitty city break. I had lunch in the market square. The food was cheap if you're a millionaire. No free table, had to share. The waiter looked like Fred Astaire. Said his name was Jean-Pierre. There must be a Burger King somewhere on this fucking city break. From the top of the hop-on, hop-off bus, I could see the locals laughing at us. They give you a discount if you're 60 plus. Seniors rates on city breaks. I did the tour, but I'm none the wiser. Left reviews on TripAdvisor. Bought sunscreen and moisturizer. It's hot here on this city break. There's tension in the atmosphere. Football fans spreading fear. Police dressed in riot gear. Stags and hens guzzling beer. What the hell am I doing here? All I want's a souvenir to take home from my city break. Art galleries and museums. There's fuck all else to do, it seems. I'd love a cup of tea and some custard creams. You can't get them on your city break, but you can get mugged in Malmo by a man called Lars. Get date rape drugs while drinking in bars. Get mowed down in the street by terrorists in cars. Have yourself a city break. I hate Munich, I hate Rome, can't stand Krakow or Cologne. All I ever do is moan. I prefer to stay at home. Gives me time to write this poem about city breaks.
Oh.
Well, we made it to the halfway stage, 3 down, 3 to go. I wasn't aware I was going to be standing in front of a big mirror here this evening, but it kind of ties in nicely with the next poem, titled Mr. Hypocrite. You know the type I'm talking about. You meet them everywhere. The guy who's happily married while having an affair. The man who tells you one thing but does the opposite. A two-faced individual, Mr. Hypocrite. You'll find him at the launch of the Climate Action Plan. He drives there in his petrol-powered luxury sedan. He says he'll go electric when the price comes down a bit. He's our eco-warrior, Mr. Hypocrite. He's been a member of Greenpeace since 1985. It's all because of him that whales are still alive. He bought his wife a fur coat. She looks real good in it. Likes to keep her happy, does Mr. Hypocrite. He's the kind who goes to Mass just on Christmas Day. The kind who preaches charity but gives fuck all away. The kind who acts concerned but couldn't give a shit. The kind we like to call Mr. Hypocrite. He's known around the town as an honest businessman. He sells designer clothes that come from Pakistan. The label looks authentic, but they're really counterfeit. Has to make a living, does Mr. Hypocrite. Supports the Me Too movement, calls himself a feminist. He'd never hit his wife, at least not with his fist. And he's friendly with Francesca, who comes to babysit. She looks more than 16, says Mr. Hypocrite. He claims to be a pacifist, compares himself to Gandhi. He just got in a fight because someone spilled his shandy. Call a paramedic. Where's the first aid kit? Had a drink too many, did Mr. Hypocrite. Now, I hear you all demanding the exposure of this man. It's time to blow the whistle on this phony charlatan. But you already know him more than you'll admit. Have a look in the mirror, Mr. Hypocrite. I got the idea for this next one while stuck on a congested motorway. Now, I realise there are other grave problems facing humanity. Wars, the climate crisis. But for me, this is the pressing issue of our time. The middle lane. The traffic ahead has slowed to a crawl, and you're the bleeding cause of it all. If there's one thing that drives me completely insane, it's a slow coach like you in the middle lane. I haven't all day to wait on you. I've places to go, things to do. I'm late for a meeting and feeling the strain, and my car's overheating in the middle lane. Come on, let's go. You're breaking the law driving that slow. There's a minimum speed you're supposed to maintain. Why are you driving in the middle lane? The Germans invented the Autobahn to get from A to B as fast as you can. I like the sound of that German name, 'cause they ought to ban you from the middle lane. Here's a traffic report from RTE saying, expect delays approaching junction 3. No prize for guessing who's to blame. You up ahead in the middle lane. No rush. Take your time. A baby's just been born 2 cars behind. And a trucker is going to miss his delivery in Spain because you're still hogging the middle lane. I haven't eaten since 10:30. The way things are going, I may never eat again. I'd murder a Chinese chicken chow mein. I'm starving to death in the middle lane. If I ever get home to my children and wife, I'm going to quit my job, start a new life, and run a one-man political campaign to ban everybody except me from the middle. Before my final poem, I'd like to thank the hardest working man in show business, Dominic Taylor,
Exactly.
for this opportunity.
The new mayor of Limerick, Dominic Taylor.
And I'll dedicate this last one to the other poets here this evening, especially the unloved, the unpublished, and those that will never appear on Sunday Miscellany. It's called
the binder of milk. Oh, where is that directed at?
It's called The Poet That Everyone Hated. If you want metaphysics, call John Donne. You got Wilfred Owen for World War I.
Oh, yeah.
But if you want the cure for an itchy bum, read The Poet That Everyone Hated. He was into Greek food, not Greek mythology. He held no degree in sociology. You won't find his poems in any anthology. He's the poet that everyone hated. While others were busy being poet laureate, he was down in the bookies having a bet. A 10-to-1 winner's as good as it gets for the poet that everyone hated. He wrote about acne that covered his back, about factory jobs and getting the sack, about a prostitute he picked up at the Greyhound track. He's the poet that everyone hated. The critics accused him of linguistic crimes. The New Yorker refused to publish his rhymes. Dull and simplistic, said the Irish Times of the poet that everyone hated. He slept on the street. He pissed in his pants. He spent 7 years in a prison in France. Faber and Faber couldn't take a chance with the poet that everyone hated. He was never invited to lecture or teach. He never made an acceptance speech. The Nobel Prize was out of reach for the poet that everyone hated. A poem he penned for his ex-wife Melanie caused such offence he was charged with a felony and banned for life from Sunday Miscellany. The poet that everyone hated.
Oh my God.
Despite all the rage, he continued to write till he died drunk on stage at an open mic night. His very last words were, "Who gives a shite?" He's the poet that everyone hated. Thanks very much.
Very black, very black. It's Ross McDonnell. And I'm reminded of one of the great highlights of the late Terry Wogan's Radio Éireann career, when he was the compere of Hospital's Request. This was a wonderful show that attempted to bring joy and comfort to the sick in our hospitals. And the requests were sent in by their relations who could hardly wait to see the will, but that's another story. Wogan in his mellifluous fashion. And now we have a song from the Clancy Brothers for Paddy Murphy, sent in by his loving wife Mary, and he went down the list of brothers of the 14 children. Where are they all Murphys? Who knows? He said, and then something happened. Cue the record, and what came up, which really brought joy to the ward. The Clancy Brothers and Tommy Macon giving a worry on. Isn't that grand boys to be bloody well dead? Now, Ross McDonnell, Seifer and Noel King entertained you for the last while. Buy their books. and help them. And various tomes are here at the back. I beseech you folks to sashay towards that and leave some money from publishers and respective authors. Gabriel Rosenstock will be here on Friday. Gabriel, one of our finest exponents of the haiku. So be there, folks. And all I can say is thank you very much, and go out and enjoy the rest of the